The news is also live on Kesmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. We're also streaming live on Facebook on 3FM and 92.7. Coming up in the next 1.5 hours, Electoral Commissioner Jean Mensah assures parliamentarians the Commission will maintain transparency and free and fair poll on December 7.
Also this evening here on Hot Edition, International Monetary Fund says it has been informed that government will reintroduce the botched VAT on electricity when inflation dynamics improve.
Also coming up later, Mahama 2024 campaign condemns Institute of Economic Affairs Ghana announcement of a presidential debate for the 2024 elections without consulting the party.
Also this evening, we'll give you details of what is happening at the Atamils Memorial Lecture. And the guest speaker for this year is the managing editor of the Insight newspaper, Kwesi Pratt Jr. We'll take you live to the City Conference Center at the University of Ghana, Legon, shortly. We'll bring you live updates of that lecture ongoing now.
Ahead of that, though, Judith Brown is here with a summary of the news. Judith, what do you have?
Exactly, Beatrice. And so in the news or in the wrap, the Mahama 2024 campaign has condemned the recent announcement by the Institute of Economic Affairs, IEA Ghana, regarding a presidential debate for the 2024 elections. Mr. Mahama's team says it is completely unacceptable that the IEA would make such an announcement without engaging or informing the National Democratic Congress, one of the major political parties in Ghana. Also in other news, there's no way the Electoral Commission can change the election results in favor of any candidates. That's according to the chair of the Commission, Jean Mensah, as she assured. She gave the assurance when she appeared before Parliament today. Also, the management of Group Indum, led by its chairman, Dr. Pakwesi Indum, is continuing with series of meetings with presidential aspirants. It is geared at asking them to support the reinstatement of the license of GN Savings should they win power. He is today meeting NDC flag bearer John Dramani Mahama. In other news, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, says the government of Ghana has indicated its commitment to implementing the value-added tax on residential electricity. Government in February this year backed off its plan to enforce the tax law to follow intense resistance by the labor unions. Also, lastly, the Progressive School Feeding Caterers Association of Ghana has refuted claims with the findings of the Auditor General's reports that pupils are being fed unhealthy food under the school feeding program. The group, despite admitting that the quantity of the food given to the children is not enough, argue the caterers do not do their best to cook healthy food for them despite being owed the secretariat. And that's all we have for the wrap here on 3FM 92.7.
Thank you so much, Judith Brown. Let's bring you details of our stories tonight. And the Electoral Commissioner, Jean Mensah, has assured that the Electoral Commission will maintain transparency in the December elections. The EC chair, who was in Parliament to respond to questions from members of the House today, reiterated that all the necessary measures are being put in place to ensure the integrity of the electoral process. The appearance of the EC in Parliament comes at an opportune time, as there have been a lot of speculations regarding the missing biometric verification devices. Take a listen.
From the registration to the declaration, our processes are embedded with one key ingredient, and that is transparency, transparency, transparency. As such, we will continue to operate in the spirit of transparency, fairness, and integrity as embedded in our motto, and work to deliver credible, fair, peaceful, and transparent electoral processes in elections come the 7th of December 2024. As a commission, we will continue to advocate for the use of the Ghana card as the sole means to verify a person's age and citizenship. We believe that the sole reliance on the Ghana card to authenticate a person's age and citizenship will be the surest way of ensuring a credible register and reducing the tensions and conflict that often characterize our registration exercise.
The EC chair also explained why some commissioners have had heavy security around them. She said it's because of public rhetoric and attacks against them.
And I think a lot of questions have been raised about our security. And I believe it's not because we are afraid for our security, because I believe that we have conducted ourselves as expected of us in the Constitution. And although I see a lot of hostility coming from my colleague from civil society, and I saw he was pointing fingers at me and almost wanting to give me a blow, I believe that it is these sorts of things that, you know, and the rhetoric in the public that makes maybe the security agencies feel that they should provide us with this level of security. To be honest with you, it takes away your freedom. You cannot go to the salon, everybody's in your space. You go to the market, it's not pleasant at all. But I believe it's the rhetoric that we hear on the media landscape, because we've come here as friends. And I know Honorable Amabua said to us that we are friends of Parliament. We should feel free to come in. So we expect, and thank you, Honorable Minority Leader, but when you're pointing fingers at you, it's as though if you meet me in the supermarket, you poke your hand in my eye because of the finger that you're pointing. And if for any reason we get out of line, you have every right to call us to order. But we shouldn't operate on rumors simply because we were appointed by a particular party. If we have displayed that acting in favor of a policy, you have every right. But I do not believe that we have conducted ourselves as such. And if we have, please feel free to call us to order. You have every right to. But we have not conducted ourselves as such. And before Honorable speaks, I think we accepted, and I do speak, we accepted this job knowing that posterity will judge us. And the Almighty God who called us will judge us. So there's no way we are going to tilt the results when it is not the truth. So we like to assure him that, you know, we have integrity and credibility. And we know that what we do would follow us all the way to the grave. And we want the Almighty God to honor us. We live by the principles of well done, good and faithful servant. So there's nothing we will do, and I assure you, to bend the rules or to steal the election for any political party. If we have given you reason, or if we ever do, please call us to order. But let us discuss these things in a decorous manner, as friends. You know, unless proving ourselves to be unfair, and I don't believe that, you know, anybody has mentioned that this morning. So my friend from civil society, you can be sure that we will abide by the law. We will be open and transparent. We would be open and transparent to ensure that it's only the will of the people that is announced at the end of the day.
And that was EC Chair Jean Mensah. I'll hear some more from her. But first, just take a listen to some of the questions that were posed by the MPs on the floor today.
Transparently, and the true verdict of the people declared on the basis of the results that are produced. So, Mr. Speaker, I know you are of such mind and will allow us to express sentiments and questions that border on attempts that may be made or seem to be made to tamper with that verdict. So, Mr. Speaker, I will hear a publication from City News.
Honorable member.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable member, no.
Mr. Speaker, allow me to make the point.
It's not admissible. Please. If you have a question, just ask a question. If you have,
Mr. Speaker, that's what I'm about to say.
No.
About utterances.
Honorable, will you listen to me?
Mr. Speaker, if you label a whole political party as a threat to democracy,
okay.
Are you anchoring yourself to be seen as an impartial empire?
Well. Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, And that is the conduct that has been associated with when they said, Madam, one of your deputies in the name of Dr. Hoffman. It is important that, Mr. Speaker, we bring it to the fore.
It's okay.
So that all of us can address it, so that we avoid such utterances and anchor yourself as an impartial arbiter.
Honorable Hussein, very well. Thank you.
No, I'm not asking my question. I'm here to ask my question.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Mr. Speaker, I've not asked the question yet.
Ask the question.
Yes, so let me ask the question, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the first one, in the run-up to the 2020 elections, the Electoral Commission on the 10th of December first declared the result and subsequently went to amend that result.
When that happens, it makes the Electoral Commission lacks integrity.
And you heard what happened on the floor of Parliament today as the EC Chair Jean Mensa appeared before the House to answer some questions, Alfred.
Well, yes, and while we are at some 12 minutes after 5 and stay with us here on your Election Command Center, we're going to cross over quickly to the City Conference Center in the University of Ghana, Legon, where the Atta Mills Memorial Lecture, 12th JEA Mills Memorial Anniversary Lecture is taking place, and the speaker for this year is Kwesi Pratt Jr., who is the editor-in-chief of the Daily Insight newspaper, giving details of how he related with the late John Evans Mills and some memories he has of him at this anniversary lecture. Let's cross over live to the venue right now.
To make sanitary pads available to girls in secondary schools. We may also have to recognize the shining example of Professor Mills. Professor Mills's fight against what has now come to be known as state capture. He led the effort to retrieve state lands handed out to officials of the previous government. This led to repossession of many lands, including the land where the current Ministry of Foreign Affairs is located. Foreign policy was one of the strong points of Professor Atta Mills. He fully respected the principle of non-interference in the internal affairs of member states, enshrined in both the African Union and Economic Community for West African States statutes. He did not bow to massive pressure from the West to help France and its allies to intervene in La Côte d'Ivoire to impose Alassane Ouattara as head of state. His response to a question from a Ghanaian journalist, Diwu Fiasem, became a popular talking point for a very, very long time. When the British Prime Minister threatened to punish countries like Ghana for not legalizing homosexuality, he had a earful from President Mills, who made it clear that he would not take dictation from anybody, and that Ghana, under his leadership, would choose its own path. Very early in the Mills administration, I found myself on a 3-man team headed for Havana, Cuba, to explore areas of cooperation. That team was led by Captain Kojo Chikata, and Professor Kofi Awono, who was then a member of the Council of State, was a member of this team. At the meeting with the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Cuba, Comandante Risquet Valdez, who was chairing, said that Cuba was ready to assist Ghana in any field of her competence and requested that President Mills petitions the President of the United States of America to release the Cuban Five from jail. Nobody on the team saw this as an easy task, and Captain Chikata insisted on handling this complicated task himself. He warned me not to mention the request to the President. Unfortunately for me, Professor Mills asked him to brief him about the trip within 24 hours of our return. I told him about the request from Cuba and gave him all the details I had on the Cuban Five. When I finished, he asked me, "So where is the draft?" He was convinced that it was a case of injustice and was ready to join the battle for the release of the Cubans who were being held in U.S. prisons. Captain Chigara was very surprised when I told him that the president was ready to sign the petition. Long before solidarity with Palestine became fashionable, Professor Mills had become a passionate advocate of Palestinian statehood and insisted on the unconditional return of all Palestinian refugees. He supported the right of self-determination of the Sahrawi people, arguing that Morocco's colonial occupation of Western Sahara could not be justified under international law. He personally led Ghana's delegation to the Non-Aligned Summit in Margarita as a mark of solidarity with the people of Venezuela, who were attempting to construct socialism under the leadership of Comandante Chavez. He also supported the right of the Iranian people to maintain their national independence. At a time when what has been described as a patriotic revolution is sweeping across the Sahel, it is tempting to ask how Professor Mills would have seen the phenomena. I am very sure that he would not have sat in front of Anthony Blinken in Washington like a God-forsaken schoolboy and asked for assistance to subvert the Burkinabe revolution. He would have endorsed the removal of foreign military bases from the African continent, supported the adoption of a common currency for West Africa, and encouraged the building of a confederation of West African states. The person, in less than 5 months, Ghana will be going to the polls to elect a president and members of parliament. And I'm going to figure out what Professor Mills would have done if he were the sitting president. I'm certain that he would not be traveling around the country threatening that if the people of Ghana fail to elect his favorite driver's mate, he will not hand over power. President Mills would have promised to respect the Constitution and to support whoever is chosen by the people. He would not be arrogant enough to think that he knows better than the 34 million people of Ghana whose mandate he exercises. Comrades and friends, 12 years after the passing of our dear friend and leader and statesman, Professor John Evans Atta Mills, it's important to ponder over what kind of world we want. Certainly, we want a world without a bomb. A world with resources which are wasted on the production of killing machines will be spent on agriculture and to protect our environment. A world in which no child goes to bed on an empty stomach. A world free from disease. A world free from racism. A world in which all forms of exploitation and oppression are liquidated. I submit here and now that that kind of world is not possible under capitalism or its variant masquerading as social democracy. For us in Africa, that new world will be constructed under the broad banner of scientific socialism and the building of the United States of Africa. We must tear down these useless boundaries which were constructed by the colonialist powers in Germany in 1884. Victory is certain and we shall be free. I thank you all. Thank you very much.
So that's the live coverage of the 12 JEA Males Memorial Anniversary Lecture delivered by the managing editor of the Inside newspaper, Kwesi Pratt Jr. there, and we'll bring you a live coverage of it here on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, also on W93.5 in Y and beyond. They're in present at the City Conference Center of the University of Ghana, Legon, where this lecture is taking place, is the flag bearer of the NDC, former President John Dramani Mahama, the chairman of the NDC, Johnson Isidun Ketia, together with the General Secretary of the party, Fifi Avikwete. Also, the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Alban Suman Kingsford Bagman, is present, together with the brother of the late John Evans Tamils, Kadman Tamils, Member of Parliament, is also present, and a number of dignitaries. Also, the running mate to the flag bearer of the NDC, Professor J. Nano Pokojiman, is present there as well. Then also some members of the National Council of the NDC, all here in present at the City Conference Center at the University of Ghana, Legon, where this event is taking place. Also, we have a number of persons who served during his administration as president. You have also the first Attorney General, first female Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Betty Modi Drisu, also present. Also, Alex Sebefia, former Minister of Health, also present, who's also now a member of the Running Mates campaign team, also here in present, and a number of dignitaries. And also Alhaji Huru Yaya is present, together with the Agbubamefia of the Asogli State. That's Togwi.
Upper there.
The 14th.
And also, I just saw Sofa Akufo as well.
Sofa Akufo
the
is
former,
there?
Yes, Sofa Akufo is there, former Chief Justice.
I see. Then we have a number of other persons as well, and we have Kwesi Ahoy also present, and then our very own Gideon Ayukwe is the man who is moderating the program as we speak, and as well as a few other persons that as we update you as we go on, we'll definitely hear from them as well. We have very interesting personalities that have graced this 12 JEA Males Memorial Anniversary Lecture. We've just seen also Nana Oheninto, who is with the Movement for Change, former General Secretary of the ruling NPP, also present there as well. Interesting. We'll cross over as and when we have a few more persons speaking, but let's go back to the issues with the Electoral Commission and matters arising. What's the EC saying?
Indeed, and we did promise you that we'll bring you some more of what the EC chair said on the floor of Parliament today when she went before them. Well, the minority side of the House has also resurrected the debate regarding the appointment of Dr. Peter Piahini as Deputy Commissioner. The opposition NDC maintains that he is a known sympathizer and member of the governing NPP. Remember that President Akufo-Addo in March 2023 swore in the 3 new members of the electoral management body, including Dr. Piahini. 3 civil society organizations comprising the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, the Star Ghana Foundation, and the Civic Forum Initiative held a news conference urging Dr. Piahini to resign. But Jean Mensah, in responding to questions on the floor of the House, said that the EC is not the appointing authority.
24 election. We talked about the party person at the EC, and I know that you've raised the issue of the commission member. As you may be aware, we are not the appointing authority. In fact, we do not have any role to play in the appointments of commission members. If it's a director, yes, we are the appointing authority, and we will make sure that anybody who is affiliated to any political party doesn't cross the line. But in the case of commission members, we are not the appointing authority. But be that as it may, I can assure you that even if your father were the president, you can't rig the elections for him. If he thinks so, then he's lying to himself. Because we know the process on the ground. Unless the parties are not going to take their agents, and unless they are not going to train their agents. But if you train your agents and they are on the ground, and you have other media houses collating the same results, because the polling station, the pink sheets are posted on the polling station, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 media houses are collating it. Who, if your father is the president, you cannot rig the election for him. So in spite of the fact that, yes, I don't have the evidence because I don't know and I didn't know the commission member before his appointment. But in spite of the fact that, and if this is the case, there's absolutely nothing he can do. He hasn't got the power. He hasn't got the power. The list of arrows came from the database. So even if he was involved in selection, he has no power. And it's based on experience. And please, when you receive the list, and I believe you have, cross-check it. Cross-check it and bring it to our attention the next time we are here that you were able to identify these people who have no experience whatsoever working with the commission. And we will take it up.
EC Chair Jean Mensah, we're joined by political analyst Dr. Samuel Free. Good evening to you, Doc. Thank you for joining us on Hot Edition.
Yeah, good evening, my dear sister. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for asking. The EC Chair addressed a number of issues from biometric verification devices to giving us assurances that this year's elections will be transparent, free and fair. And then she just went on to explain why certain individuals were appointed. And although people are claiming that some of them, particularly Dr. Piahene, is a member of the governing MPP, the EC is not the appointing authority, as it were. Are you satisfied with these responses from the EC chair giving on the floor of Parliament today?
Thank you, and thank you for your listeners and also viewers on Facebook as well. Thank you very much. Looking at your what the EC chair, Madam Jean Mensah, conveyed today at Parliament House, I would say maybe he was just clarifying or explaining some issues, but personally, I wasn't much impressed, especially when he was focusing on security of the elections, of elections. But looking at the issues about the answer about the appointment, probably we might agree to with her assertion that, she is not the appointing authority, so probably might not be the right, because I think the EC chair cannot say that that is the appointee to appoint someone, but it's the Constitution that gives the right to the president to appoint EC members, that is to the commission. So that one, I think I will agree to her assertion to that response. But in total, about the assertions of security, that is where, because the elections, like the national elections, which determines who becomes the president, where we have a lot of investment, people have invested a lot of money into this process. It's sometimes very, very critical to look at these assertions of the security aspect of the elections. And that is where she was dwelling on the total responsibility of security is for the police, the Ghana police, and then that one is true. But we can't just leave it to the to Ghana police to do all the aspects, because you are the actual organizers of the election. Because before election, during election, after election, we need security. We need security to ensure that these things are well, because we have to, even the EC herself, the staff need to be protected. Voters need to be protected. And the environment also needs to be secured. And these are all done by the police. So we need to collaborate with these institutions and also even the judiciary. These are the things that we expect that they will collaborate to ensure. As a voter, as a Ghanaian voter, if I'm going to vote, I should be assured of security. And it cannot be done without the EC giving them what they ought to do, what the processes that they have put in place, and even for their staff. So that is where my concern was, especially when he was at the Parliament House. And I didn't hear any issue how security will be managed in terms of social media. Because during elections, you can realize that social media plays a key role. I don't know whether the EC has any plans for social media where people can come up fake news, where people can incite others through the social media. And I believe that any opportunity or whatever, you, the journalist, you can ask her about the strategies that they have put in place in collaboration with the cyber security of the police administration to find out about what the other aspect of the social media security for the elections. So my dear sister, looking at the issue, what she came to Parliament, I think that was where I was looking at, because we need to be devoid of these election violence and other kind of vigilantes, because it might seem the vigilantes mostly happens mostly on the parliamentary elections, by elections and that kind of thing. That is where these vigilantes mostly try to come out to demonstrate their powers and how strong they are. But when it comes to the general elections, we also have people, especially hotspots. I think the last, that is 2020 elections, I think the police administration identified about more than 6,000 hotspots, that is nationwide, where 4 regions, that is the Ashanti, Central Region, Northern Region, and Greater Accra, were the most leading 4 top regions for the 2020 elections in terms of hotspots. So in this case, how are you going to manage this? And if you don't give these information, if you don't give how you're going to plan for all these things, how can EC say that they've left it to the police to manage it? There should be a collaboration from the EC and also the police and the judiciary as well, because there might be issues that have to be sent to the courts, and the court, we need to have a system that can also ensure that issues about elections are being dealt with as soon as practicable. And that is what we are all expecting that the EC has to put in place. Because all the issues that she said, I think that we need to put in place, and also in that addition, as I'm saying, that she has to work on that.
Doc,
so that we can have free and fair elections.
Doc, I'm trying to fully understand what you're saying. The Electoral Commission has always collaborated with security agencies, and that's why there have been election task forces and all of those to help or support the EC organize elections with security. And what she said, that security is headed, as it were, or will be handled majorly by the security agencies. I'm just wondering what else you expect from her, because there has always been collaboration with the security agencies. Again, you mentioned the case of she telling us how, for instance, the judiciary or the court would be involved when there is an issue. You only get to that stage when there is an issue that has been sent to court, like we had with our 2 petitions in the previous elections. Aren't you jumping the gun with that?
No, my dear sister, these things you need to put in place first. You don't have to wait for those issues have to come, because it's a whole system when you want to run an election. I may not be much into election expert much, but in terms of organizing elections, if you want a total security for the voter, for the community, for even the EC staff or the staff of those that will be coming around, we need to ensure that there's total. And I agree that there has been some collaboration for the security. Sometimes they appoint national task force for that is for the elections. And that is true. But what I'm saying is that, elections sometimes, because based on what she said on the floor of Parliament, is what I am trying to also give the assessment that, yes, it is the responsibility of the police to have to ensure that security is being run effectively during the elections, after the elections, and even before. That one is here. But when based on what she was saying, it's like everything is centered on the police. And that is where I have a little bit disagreement about what she was saying, because you are the one that organized the elections. Whatever goes into it, even printing of ballot papers, even election intelligence gathering and all these things, your process will give the police what the police have to put in place. ballot papers conveying all these things has been done, and then we have been trying to do all these things. So probably I think that there should be much more. I'm just urging, because still we have elections kind of violence, hotspots at some of these things. And let me tell you, these elections, every election is treated differently. And this is elections because it is what do you call it, breaking the age, and somebody will say that breaking the system or whatever. So everybody is going in with a force. And that is what is more critical. It's not different from 2020 elections. 2024 elections is much more critical because the party, the government in power, and also the party opposition, everybody wants to ensure that you retain or also come to power.
We'll have to end it.
Critical. Yes.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, Dr. Samuel Afriye. He's a political analyst. Thank you for sharing those views with us.
So here on your Election Command Center, let's go back to the 12th John Evans Atta Mills Memorial Anniversary Lecture, where the next speaker is also talking to the audience. Now, Professor Ransford Jampo is a professor of political science at the University of Ghana, Legon, and he's been speaking now.
Financial and economic crimes. He paid personal unannounced visits to the teleports where charges and allegations of corruption have been high, and warned custom officers to stop their corrupt practices in a manner that sends some fear in many corrupt officials of state. No one had and no one has done this before. He was against opulence and profligacy. So he would not take per diems when he traveled, and he was the one who reviewed to force arrangements to order some 2 presidential jets for Ghana. He had short convoys when traveling and downsized his ministers from 87 to 73, thereby saving Ghana some millions of dollars every year. And he did all this because of his belief that no one can genuinely lead economic transformation or reform in challenging times if we continue to spend millions of dollars to rent expensive jets, to drive long convoys, and to run a jumbo-sized government. In the educational sector, as I read, we are told he was the one who increased the capitation grants, supplied free uniforms, exercise books, expanded the school feeding programs, where some 320 additional schools were covered, paid tuition fees of teachers pursuing further education via distance learning, established 3 new specialized universities in Ho, Sunyani, and Somenya, converted polytechnics into technical universities, secured funding for building the Eugene MC, the biggest in West Africa, and as an academic, he promoted academic freedom by not initiating acts, by not initiating legislations that interfere with university matters, and in particular, the appointment of who becomes our vice chancellor. Our people are making all manner of laws to interfere with academic freedom. I don't understand. How did he relate with the media? He built excellent relationship with the press, and he scored high marks on the indices for measuring press freedom. So just be thinking about it. Under him, no one had to flee the country to go and seek refuge anywhere. And he continued the Meet the Press series, initiated by his predecessor, and subjected himself to the accountability scrutiny of the press, during which he also demonstrated his excellent sense of humor in a manner that made the media free around him. He established the Media Development Fund to help build the capacity of many journalists. And as I read the book, I also realized that he played a certain role in securing our environment. He cared about the environment and sought to save our depleted ocean from total collapse by advocating for the massification of the science of fisheries for a sustainable transformation of fisheries, of the fisheries subsector, set up Ghana's first fisheries college, set up the SADA to ensure the development of sustainable agriculture, energy access and rural development for the Northern Ecological Zone, pushed for the passage of several minerals and mining regulations and legislation to ensure that mining contributes to sustainable environment, and was the originator of the Green Ghana project for the implementation of millions of trees. Personnel and public service. In the review of the book, and from what we all know, Professor Mills had served well in the public service and had garnered the needed competence and experience for the work he was asked to do by Ghanaians as president. He was an academic with over 25 years teaching experience and research experience, and he mentored and taught several students and faculty, and served as visiting scholar in several universities across the globe. He was a taxman who worked with the IRS and brought the VAT into being. He was also a sportsman, as we all know, and worked with the Ghana Hockey Association and National Sports Council. All these areas of public service have built and prepared him to serve as president of Ghana. Now, there are so many things that have been said, so I'll skip by concluding on a note that Professor Mills was a human being, and as such, he was not perfect. His administration also had issues, but these were not articulated in the book that I have reviewed, perhaps in consonance with the tradition of not speaking ill of the dead. This notwithstanding, the legacy of Professor Mills in the areas discussed by the various authors of the book that I'm reviewing cannot be glossed over. They are worth emulating by all, young and old. Indeed, our quest for good governance and leadership that serves people and extricate them from the quagmires of poverty and underdevelopment would come to naught without a deliberate effort to immortalize some of the values and attributes of Professor Mills and ensure they are handed down to generations now and unborn. Madam Chair, I wish to state, whilst ending, that this book I am yet to launch is professionally written and provides an adequate pictorial representation of Professor Mills and what he stood for. I commend the authors for the great work and salute the editors and all those who managed to put everything together. Lastly, I thank the organizers for the opportunity to do this work on the man I admired the most, and I thank you all for your attention.
As Professor Ransford Jampo, Professor of Political Science at the University of Ghana, Legon, also speaking at the 12th J.E. Mills Memorial Anniversary Lecture ongoing at the CD Conference Center, University of Ghana, Legon. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. To some more stories.
Indeed, and the International Monetary Fund, IMF, says that the government of Ghana has indicated its commitment to implementing the value-added tax on residential electricity. Government in February this year backed off its plan to enforce the tax law following intense resistance by the labor unions. We are today learning a bit more from the IMF's July 2024 country report on Ghana. Let me run you through a bit of what's in that report. It says on the revenue side, the implementation of VAT on residential electricity was suspended due to strong social resistance. The authorities are committed to implementing this measure when the inflation dynamics are more conducive. There's also a bit about, in the meantime, following consultation with staff, authorities introduced alternative measures to offset the revenue loss, including the areas of foreign income of Ghanaian residents, audits of large taxpayers, and property tax collection. The Ghana Revenue Authority is also taking additional administrative measures to ensure that the revenue measures in the 2024 budget deliver the expected yield. I'll just bring you that last but one code there. It says the power outages were caused by the continued financing challenges in the energy sector. And then it says the PURC's quarterly tariff pricing decisions continue to be subject to discretion, undermining the transparency of the tariff pricing mechanism and preventing tariffs from timely reflecting development in the cost of energy. To address these pitfalls, the authorities have requested IMF and World Bank assistance in improving the transparency and methodology of the tariff formula by end of 2024, while exploring options to perform energy subsidies. So, Alfred, there we have it. It seems we need to prepare ourselves indeed to pay some more.
Oh, that is if this goes through eventually. But I do know that members of parliament were vehemently opposed to this, and at least the minority. And as to whether this will go through parliament and get parliamentary approval, this is one thing. And if it goes beyond this administration as well, whether whichever administration or whichever party wins this election will be committed to this aspect of the program, is also another question that needs to be answered going forward.
Yes, and we do have on the line with us Professor John Gache. He's Dean, University of Cape Coast Business School. Good evening to you, Prof. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's first start from the issue of VAT on electricity. Is this something government must implement at all cost? It is obvious the suspension was as a result of pressure, as you just heard me read there from that IMF report.
Well, from government point of view, this is a VAT on consumption, and this is a consumption that is readily in every household. So if you place tax on that, it is easy to collect. You are sure of the estimated amount to be collected. So because of that, the government is looking at the low side of what should be done to get more revenue without thinking about the effect on household, especially at the time that we have a cost of living crisis in the country. Hardship has escalated, and the income of people have been eroded as a result of inflation and exchange rate volatility. So when you do that, you aggravate the cost of living situation for the household. So that is what government should be looking at. Government is put in place to manage the economy, to improve livelihood for the people. So if you are going to engage in a tax effort, that will actually, create more problems for the living standard of people, then you need to quell and rethink.
The IMF said, and I'm just reading a bit of what is in that report, the authorities are committed to implementing this measure when the inflation dynamics are more conducive. Do you see this as a subtle way of telling us that probably the government may not be able to consider this now? Because, yes, inflation 54 dropped to 23, now it dropped again just a little over 22%.
I think what that means is that we have moved from 54% to around 22. So which means the IMF will be looking at a downward trend in inflation to be significant. And for that matter, we should be able to accommodate these new taxes. But the reality is that inflation is fueled by exchange rate volatility, especially in the country where almost everything is imported. Therefore, the drop down in inflation does not actually reflect in prices on the market because of the volatile exchange rate that we are looking at. The exchange rate is actually a cost to businesses, it's actually a cost to households, and it translates into price development on the market. That is why you see prices of almost items defy the fact that we have moved from 54% to 22% inflation. So looking at that to benchmark, point to introduce VAT on electricity, I think it's not a proper measure because that is not the reality. The reality is that exchange rate is fueling inflation, is fueling price development in the country, and we need to appreciate that and allow the livelihood of the people to be balanced.
Beyond the bit about exchange rates, which obviously is also influencing inflation in the country, the IMF admits the effort by authorities to kind of generate revenue locally. The PRC attempting to hike prices of commodities, and yet the IMF again is saying these efforts are not reflective enough. Where do we go from here?
Well, that is what we have a government to look at all these things to ensure that the underlying factor is that the management of the economy should reflect in the livelihood of the people. It's not reflecting on the livelihood of the people. You can increase the revenue, but if the mode of increasing the revenue includes the business environment, that will affect production in real terms, and that will affect the inclusiveness that we're talking about. That will not make meaning out of the growth of the economy to the average person. The growth of the economy should have three factors present to the economy. One, a growth of the economy should provide opportunities and opportunity for businesses to expand. But that will not take place because the environment is not conducive as a result of the way you are increasing revenue. Then the second one is that the growth of the economy should present, expanded job opportunity for people, and that we are not getting. Then the growth of the economy itself to contribute to tax revenue. So if the growth is not able to do that, you need to tax people, you need to tax the businesses over and over again to achieve that, then you are at the end of the day destroying the business environment, which is critical to making livelihoods possible. If the business environment is not conducive, prices will continue to be unaffordable, the cost structure will be escalated, and some will be out of businesses, and that is not what I want to see for an economy. So the economy should not be managed to satisfy the IMF and the government. The economy should be managed to satisfy the expectation and aspirations of Ghanaians, as enshrined in Article 36(1) of our Constitution.
Prof,
the purpose of economic management is to ensure the happiness of the people.
Just to wrap up our conversation, I've heard you talk about business environment and other things. What is that one thing in the midst of all of this that you would advise the government to do, even as we head towards 2024 general election, to alleviate the pain of a number of people in the midst of this report coming from the IMF?
So I'm not sure there is a need to advise the government. All advice in terms of the tax, creating a better tax environment, you're looking at a stakeholder revenue mobilization, ensuring you focus on the livelihoods of the people. All these advice have been given, but it fell on deaf ears, and I'm not sure that the government is ready to listen to anybody. They are in a world of their own, and I think that's how I want to end it.
Here, Professor John Gache, he's the Dean of University of Cape Coast Business School. Thank you for speaking to us.
Well, we are here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. The National School Feeding Secretariat says it will conduct its own independent investigations into the wrongful payment of monies to caterers for the school feeding program. This is after the Auditor General cited the Secretariat for wrongful payment of over 2 million cedis to caterers for no work done over the last 5 years. Sebalfa is head of the public relations at the school feeding program, spoke to us earlier today.
Raw and unfiltered, life in its purest form. Current affairs capture the
content. We also want to put out that we are also instituting our own investigation so that we're able to respond appropriately. So under the circumstances, I'm not able to say much until we are done with this investigation so that we share the outcome of everything. No, I've just told you, we will set out so many parameters to look at the issues that have been raised. Mind you, is the auditor the performance report is talking about issues that started since 2017. So look at the years involved. So that means we have to take our time to do a meticulous job by investigating all the issues.
Siba Alpha is the head of public relations at the School Feeding Secretariat. Meanwhile, the Progressive School Feeding Caterers Association of Ghana has refuted claims in the findings of the Auditor General's report that pupils are being fed unhealthy food under the school feeding program. The group, even though admitted that the quantity of the food given to the children is not enough, the caterers do their best to cook healthy food for them despite being owed by the Secretariat. Secretary for this Caterers Association, Dorothy Ofori Sapong, spoke to the media in Kumasi.
We, the school feeding caterers, do appreciate the wonderful work done by the Auditor General, but disagree with some of its findings captured in the report, indicating that the school feeding caterers cook unwholesome food for the peoples in Ghana. The fact that we do appreciate the work done by the Auditor General, we find it strange that the report generalized the whole Ghana caterers cooking unwholesome food for the children. We do agree with the report stating that the quantity of the food served is inadequate because of the money involved. The Secretariat has not overpaid any caterer, but rather owing some of the caterers since 2017 till date. We are pleading with the Auditor General to reinvestigate this. Every school has been attached with coordinator or coordinators who goes round unannounced to inspect and taste the food. In conclusion, although the amount involved per child is insufficient, the caterers are all mothers and will never and ever use unwholesome foodstuff to cook for the children because the caterers eat the same food, including some of the teachers. On this note, we are therefore appealing to the NGO.
Sir Dorothy Ofori Sapong, Secretary for the Progressive School Feeding Caterers Association of Ghana. It's now time for the business news. Juliana Menuafo is standing by with the latest in the business news. But before that...
Yes, before that, step into the world of Dewa 539 for your chance to win big with Dewa Direct and Dewa Chop Money. With Dewa Direct, dial *446#, pick 1 to 39 and win 20 times, 40 times or 400 times your stake and win cash every evening at 7 p.m. and on Sundays at 6 p.m. Early bird, love Dewa Chop Money. At 10 a.m., dial *446#. Choose 1 to 39 and win 20 times, 40 times or 400 times. Play at dewa-nla.com or dial *446#. Need help? Call 055-6259-249 or 053-2479-879. Dewa Afa.
Imagine a day where the entire family will converge with music, food, family, water park enjoyment, and exciting activities like water slides, go-karting, horse riding, jet skiing, canopy walk, and so many games with the entire family. Welcome to 3FM's Family Fun Day at Marina Park on Founders Day holiday on August 5th, 20.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, Minister for Trade and Industry, K.T. Hammond, clarifies legislative instruments on cement pricing, aims to curb profiteering, not regulate prices. My name is Minu Afo. We have details of these and more lined up for you. Do stay. And straight to our first story, the Minister for Trade and Industry has clarified that introducing the Ghana Standards Authority Regulations 2024 is not intended to dictate the price of cement in the market. He emphasized that the goal is to ensure market transparency and protect consumers from overpricing. The minister made these remarks at a stakeholder consultative forum organized by the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry.
The LI does not seek to control prices. It doesn't control. We can only continue to use the word regulation. But I think we're taking some trouble to explain what we mean by regulation, to get the perfect balance between the two, the production end and then the purchase end. Just let's simply know what is going on. I've detailed to you factors that we expect them to take into consideration when they are reporting. There's this committee that we set up. You're going to, on a monthly basis, report to the committee what your prices are. But in reporting what your prices are, we have indicated it's in there. Your cost of production, your profit margin, other related costs, all sorts of things. Let them be comfortable that these are the matters that you put in there. Put your price margin in there, no doubt. But nobody's controlling anything. Except that if at the end of the day, they review these documents and your pricing mechanism, what the end result, and they are not comfortable. Because we're all here. We know what a dollar is, what a cedi is. We know the other matters that you put in there, your profit margin. If it is outrageous, they will not allow you to sell at that. But if you insist that you're going to sell at that, even though the committee says no, we would revoke your license.
Well, that was Minister for Trade and Industry, K.T. Hammond there. In more business stories, Ghana ranks 5th among African countries with improvement in visa openness, according to the 2023 Visa Openness Report by the Africa Development Bank, AFDB. The report highlights about 8% increase in countries that do not require visas to travel across the African continent from 2016 to 2023. The following report has details. Visa openness is crucial for the success of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Over the years, visa policy restrictions have hindered trade among countries on the continent, leading to loss of revenue to African countries and a slowdown in the implementation of the AfCFTA. The 2023 Africa Visa Openness Report found that 15 countries, including Ghana, improved their rankings, with about 10% decrease in the number of countries that require visas from African travelers.
Ghana is doing very well, actually. It's number 5. They do not require visas from African countries, 25. And then 26 countries can get visas on arrival. So it's quite easy for Ghana to join the top tier countries if they can just decide that we are not requiring visas from Africans.
African countries stand to gain more from allowing visa-free entry, and the AfCFTA seeks to aid countries find a balance between immigration and economic policies.
Remember, we're talking about governments with different sectoral officers handling different issues. Where immigration policy affects economic policy, then the government officials have to talk. I think that's where we think awareness creation is very important.
That was a report on Ghana ranking 5th among African countries with improvement in visa openness. Before we go, the Bank of Ghana is urging customers of Technoc Investments to remain calm following the shutdown of the firm for unauthorized deposit taking. According to a press release from the central bank, the said entity's operation was in violation of the Banks and Specialized Deposit Taking Institutions Act 2016, Act 930. The following report has the details.
The Ghana Police Service, working alongside the Bank of Ghana, has closed down Technoc Investments, which operated branches in Nungwa and Ashaiman in the Greater Accra region. The closure, effective today, comes as a result of Technoc Investments' involvement in unauthorized deposit taking, a violation of Section 6, Subsection 1 of the Banks and Specialized Deposit Taking Institutions Act 2016, Act 930. The enforcement action was executed under the Section 20, Subsection 2G of Act 930, which empowers the Bank of Ghana to take such measures against institutions operating without the necessary licenses. The central bank says the police are conducting further investigations into the operations of Technoc Investments. The Bank of Ghana and the Ghana Police Service have urged customers of Technoc Investments to remain calm during the investigation. The authorities assured that all stakeholders and the general public would be kept informed of subsequent actions. In the statement, the Bank of Ghana reiterated its commitment to clamping down on illegal deposit-taking activities and emphasized that offenders would be prosecuted in accordance with the law. The bank also assured the public of its dedication to maintaining the integrity and stability of the country's financial system.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on Bank of Ghana urging customers to remain calm as it shuts down investment firm Technoc Investments for engaging in unlicensed deposit taking. Well, that will be all for the business segment on Hot Edition. For more stories, kindly log on to our website on www.3news.com. My name is Menu Afo. Do stay tuned. Bill is on standby with the sports news.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Billy Shen. Starting off with our first story, 4 years ago, the Sipong Sports Stadium was closed down due to its poor state. After a series of back and forth and broken promises, renovation works are currently underway at the facility. There are high hopes the iconic stadium, which was part of the hosting venues for 2008 AFCON, will come back to life soon. Here's a report by Francis Hima.
Esipun Sports Stadium, a venue that once hosted the cream of African football during the 2008 Africa Cup of Nations. But beneath its gleaming facade, a tale of neglect and disrepair unfolded. 12 years after its grand opening, the stadium fell into a state of disarray, a victim of Ghana's perennial enemy, poor maintenance culture. There were several promises made by authorities, but none could see the light. This is the Esipon Sports Stadium, and a new story is unfolding. After years of broken promises and several back and forth, finally we can confirm that contractors are on site helping to fix the facility, and at the moment they are working on the roofing, and hopefully afterwards they will work on the grassing and in the seating area to ensure that the facility will come back to life. We made attempts to enter the venue and have access to what has been going on, but then we were denied access, as currently it's been restricted to visitors. From the highs of AFCON to the lows of decay, and now the rebirth of an iconic stadium, this is a story of redemption. Francis Sima from the Esipun Sports Stadium for 3 Sports.
That was a report there by Francis Hima of the 3 Sports team. 2 other stories. Assistant coach of Vision FC, Hamza Mohammed, has stated that Vision FC will not depart from their principles, that is to develop young talent as they enter the Ghana Premier League for the next season. Now, he spoke to Kelvin Owusu-Ansah ahead of GPL Express, which airs on Saturday at 2 p.m.
What I would say as its own project, we have our motive, that is development of talent and then nurturing good players to be in good career in the future. So we don't want them to expect much, like say winning the league or maybe scoring everything. When it comes like that, we are okay. But we have a motive, that is development of talent and then nurturing of young players to be in the nearby future. So as my head coach and Ajman, we used to talk together always, and then the motive is for us to nurture talent and then develop good players for them to be in the near future and be at the highest level, meaning they should be playing at the national team, the senior national team, also playing at the top leagues in Europe and maybe other continents.
Remember, the GPL Express airs on Saturday at 2 p.m. on TV3. Now, to some other stories, it has been a very, very busy week for Ghanaian players in Europe when it comes to transfers. Some of them have moved to new clubs, whilst others have extended their contracts. Here is a wrap of Ghanaian transfers in the past week. It's been a busy week for Ghanaian players on the international transfer market. Potentially the biggest deal has involved Fatau Ishahaku, who has confirmed what we know already. He will be a Leicester City player for the next 5 years. Ishahaku scored 7 goals and provided 13 assists in 43 games for Leicester last season, and he will now become a Fox. But he's not the only Ghanaian player returning to England. Goalkeeper Jojo Wollacott has joined League One side Crawley Town on a 2-year deal from Hibernian. Wollacott will be looking to excel in England once again after struggling for minutes last season, making just 7 league appearances in Scotland. 1 month after making his debut for the Black Stars, Ibrahim Sulemana has returned to a place he once called home, Atalanta, on a 4.5-year deal from Cagliari. Ghanaians could see the 21-year-old wearing the blue and black stripes in the Champions League next season. And in Belgium, Anderlecht have extended the contract of midfielder Majid Ashimeru until 2027. Ashimeru has been with the club since 2020, and the new deal will make him one of the longest-serving players. But the team would hope for an injury-free season for the 26-year-old following his tally of just 6 league appearances last season. Well, that brings an end to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Billy Shen, and Beatrice and Alfred and the rest of the team are back with more on the Hot Edition.
Up early every weekday because of you, to keep you on top of your game. Yeah!
You are at the center of our universe. That's why we make it a duty to serve you only the freshest, hottest news and entertainment. When you want it, where you want it.
Good morning, Ghana, Africa, and the rest of the wonderful world. Welcome to Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Start your day well informed. Start with us on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Catch the all-new Sunrise Morning Show on 3FM 92.7 with me, Johnny Hughes, Helen Apiampofo. Weekdays from 5:55 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on 3FM 92.7.
3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
Thank you very much, Billy Shan, for bringing us the latest in sports. You're still here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Welcome to Campaign Trail. On Campaign Trail tonight, let's start from the camp of the PNC, and the founder of the People's National Party, PNP, Janet Nabla, has denied allegations that her party is appropriating the ideologies and principles of the People's National Convention. She asserts that the PNP shares no commonalities with the PNC and has no intention of poaching its members or misleading voters. Her response follows lawyers for the People's National Convention writing to the Electoral Commission on behalf of the party to suspend the certificate of the final registration for the registration of the People's National Party. The PNC argues that the PNP, which is the predecessor party that gave rise to the PNC, is very similar to the PNC. Janet Nabla joins us on the phone now. Good evening to you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Have you officially responded to the letter from the PNC, though?
Let me greet you and your listeners this evening. The letter was directed to Isi. So, and this is not the first letter. He wrote the first letter in April, requesting EC to suspend, to not give us the provisional license. And EC looked into the letter, and there was no merit to it, so they just discarded it and said that there is no any law in Ghana that prevents any Ghanaian from using the names that were in the Third Republic, because now we are in the Fourth Republic, and everything has become new. Moreover, the CPP went to court, and the court lifted off the ban on the names that were banned in the Third Republic. So there is no any law preventing anyone from using the PNP. You know, some of the things he said we have some similarities in our party symbols, our slogans, our ideologies. But when you look at the People's National Party, our slogan, my family, my community, my motherland, you look at our colors, we are using burgundy and black. They are using white, red, and green. You look at our symbols. They are using the coconut. We are using the palm tree. And our palm tree is even black. And we have our palm tree, when you look at the symbols, far different from the normal norms that people have been using. Our palm tree, we have decided to use the symbol of the southern sector, which is the stool. So our palm tree is sitting on the stool. Then you look at the front of the palm tree is the northern chieftaincy symbol, which is the skin. So actually, we are communitarians. They are social democrats. We have nothing in common with the People's National, I think the PNC. So he's also saying that there will be confusion. But when you look at the two symbols, the differences is so vast that no one can make this mistake. Then you ask yourself, did he even look at things before going to Electoral Commission? My answer to you is that he never did all those background checks, because yesterday I heard him saying that our colors were green and white, you see. So he never did background checks before going ahead to do whatever he did.
Madam Nabla, if I get you correctly, the EC has already dismissed that.
They dismissed it in April. Then he now went and told his solicitors to write. So this is the second time he's writing to the EC. The first one, he wrote it himself, and the EC dismissed it, saying that there is no any legal backing to prevent somebody from using any name. And then now he went and used his solicitors to write that they should ban us from getting the final certificate. So all these things that he's doing, it's neither here nor there. So because we are all...
Please land on your thoughts.
So we are all political parties, and Ghana, they are looking for a third force to be able to help. And instead of us to be thinking about how to be able to coin policies that will be able to convince Ghanaians to vote for us. You are there fighting about symbols. That is number one. He says that the PNC, it was the PNP that gave birth to the PNC. It's a palpable lie from the pit of hell. It is not true. When you look at the Nkrumahs were those who formed the PNP. It was Alhaji Moro Igala who formed the PNP. When he formed it, the truth be told, Liman was not there. Liman was with UP, and they brought him to come and contest. So when they bring you to come and contest as a flag bearer, it doesn't make you the founder of that party just because you contested under that party. And let's look at the PNC. The PNC, after it was formed, the CPP people broke away and went and took the CPP. They broke away from the PNC. They were part of the PNC in 1992 elections. After the elections, they broke away, went to court, and got their own party. So why didn't he say that they are all together so that will not happen? So it doesn't... Whatever he's saying, no, it just doesn't hold water. And you try to read so much meaning into it. And then you realize that it's obsession. It's obsession. The only reason why he's doing all these things, you know that he went to court and got a judgment. A judge asked him to come and rule over us, and we refused and move away. So imagine your kingdom moving away and leaving you. You have nobody to rule. So those are some of the frustrations that is preventing him, that is making him to do those things.
So, Madam Nabla, you're just confirming here that EC already dismissed whatever it is they wrote again in April, and then there's a second letter, and you're confirming some details to us. If that's the case, and these arguments, quote unquote, are irrelevant, why is the PNP bothering itself responding to these to an extent that we are having an interview about this?
That was for the sake of the public, because according to the EC, after he served the EC, then he started serving media houses. You see, he started serving media houses. So the purpose of the letter is just to put him in the limelight. Because, without bringing the PNC on board, he cannot become relevant. So anytime he gets up, all these court cases and suspension, he started it. Ghanaians have no idea. They thought we were the aggressors. But we have never done anything. When he came with the vindictiveness and wickedness to suspend some people, we tried to talk to him, he refused. Went ahead and suspended me. There were a lot of brouhaha. If it were any other person who has leadership qualities, he would have even called for a truce. That, come, let's try and... No. He took us to court. And then we went to court, provided all evidence, and proved beyond reasonable doubt.
But is it fair to tell somebody how to... Is it fair to ask somebody how to respond or how to go about his or her business?
I don't know. That's why I'm saying that now people will not... And people first thought that we were the aggressors. But he is the one who took us to 4 different courts. He's the one who started the suspension. He has always been the problem. But Ghanaians were not even listening. They thought we were those. Now we have left. Look at what we have done and look at what he's doing. Who is the aggressor? The aggressor. He is the aggressor. So we want Ghanaians to just ignore him because whatever he's doing is an obsession, it's wickedness at its highest level. In fact, this man is doing this because I'm a woman. He doesn't think that we are there yet.
Ghanaians will decide on that. Thank you very much, Janet Nabla, founder of the People's National Party. And that'll be it for Campaign Trail here on Hot Edition on Sri FM 92.7. And that's it for Hot Edition on Sri FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice. I did this with Alfred Ocansey. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to shrinews.com for more news. Have a good evening and do enjoy the rest of our programs.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.
Imagine a day where the entire family will converge with music, food, family, water park enjoyment, and exciting activities like water slides, go-karting, horse riding, jet skiing, canopy walk, and so many games with the entire family. Welcome to 3FM's Family Fun Day at Marina Park on Founders Day holiday on August 5th, 2024, where wonder meets adventure and joy knows no bounds. Join us for a holiday of excitement with a day full of fun and celebration of the most precious thing of all, family. Is the 3FM Family Fun Day. So mark your calendars, gather your friends and family, and get ready to create a world of memories on the holiday, Monday, 5th of August. Rate is 300 Ghana cedis for a family of 4. If it's a single adult, it's 100 Ghana cedis, and a child is 50 Ghana cedis. Call 0532 200 927 and 0531 100